Hi, everyone. Welcome to White Noise Night Coffee Sessions. I am your host, Robin, and I am happy to be back here. It's been a while since I've been at Greenkill. It's been like 2 months now, almost. We went on a bit of a break for January. Well, Greenkill did. I was still doing whatever I do outside of here. And I am very glad to be back, very glad to be with these two wonderful people who you guys will get to know very well very soon. We're just gonna launch right into it. So I'm gonna ask you guys first what your names are, just so the audience knows.
Well, this is Bill, and
Yeah,
I'm
that's
Clarice.
Right. This is Jenny.
Just kidding. My name's Anna. I don't know if you need the whole name.
It's up to you.
And I'm Michael, otherwise known as Mr. F.
Okay.
Mr. F.
That's right.
And
According to who?
My students. My disciples.
And my first question for you, Anna and Michael,
Yeah.
who is Route 1?
Well,
Who is Route 1?
who is it? Is it you or me? I'm not
I don't
sure.
know. I guess it has to be both of us.
Yeah, maybe equal. My arms and your legs, I think, together make
That's a
Route
good
1.
combination.
Yeah.
Yeah. Route 1, I guess, really stems from me being from Florida, and he's from Maine.
Mm-hmm.
And Route 1 is the road that connects those two places. And
Yep. We like to say that's about all the two places have in common is just the one roadway, and maybe now our music too. Yeah. So other than that,
Yeah.
But it sounded a lot better than I-95,
Yes.
so we went with Route 1.
a lot better
instead.
than I-95.
Yes.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
So tell us how you both met and when you decided you wanted to start creating music together.
Yeah.
Do you want to take that away?
Yeah, sure. We met in, I guess it would have been 2023, right?
Yes. In Asheville, North
in the
Carolina.
summer of 2023, we were both living in Asheville. We have a mutual friend who had just moved into a new house that was about 15 feet away from the house he had just moved from. So we had
We had a housewarming
we
party.
had a very unusual housewarming party between the two houses, and he was a musician, and a lot of other people there were musicians, and so we were all kind of swapping songs and just jamming on each other's stuff. And we were playing one song of mine that was particularly jam-friendly and very easy to remember the words. And so after maybe a round or two, Anna just started throwing harmonies in. And we kind of first had the eye contact situation go on there. And then we were talking about traveling later on, and we had a lot of those things in common. And one thing kind of led to another, and it just kind of became apparent that we had to hang out and get to know each other.
And I made it a point to get his number. So I asked him for his number, and I was like, okay, let's talk.
I still had a flip phone, so I was ashamed to pull it.
You seem interesting enough for me to ask for your number and not wait for you to ask for mine. So
Yeah. So it worked out like
so
that.
I made the move, and then we hung out, and we just like talked for a long time, and we just kind of kept hanging out and then singing together. And he was already performing. Did you say that already?
Nope.
He was already performing in Asheville, North Carolina for, I guess, like a year at that point.
Yeah, well, at that point, I was still pretty new to it. I had just started performing, but I was really doing it hot and heavy, and I was writing all the time and getting out basically every night. And while I would be working on stuff in my apartment, Anna would come over, and she would just be doing what Anna does, whatever it was, making snow angels on the floor or something, and throwing in these harmonies on top of what I was working on. And
I ruined it for him.
in the best way possible. I mean, I was certainly resistant to it because we had just met each other, and I was a little wary of the idea that, oh my gosh, all of a sudden it's going to turn into something else. But after a little while, it just became undeniable that it had to be a duo. I just couldn't hear the songs and sing them without hearing her harmonies in my head. I was kind of going crazy.
Wow.
And so I invited her to do it, and then she was resistant to that at first because she had this stage fright.
Oh my God, I was so scared. So scared.
We did an open mic together, and I mean, you would have thought she was having a seizure or something.
Which I've had many of, but still.
It was wild. Yeah, it was wild. It was really
but
interesting.
still, I was very scared. It was definitely a new edge for me, but I had been singing my whole life, and I have got so many musicians and artists in my family that had been pushing me to pursue music and chorus and all these different things, but I was definitely the shower singer, or I would hide in the choir sort of thing, because I was just pretty terrified to share my own voice by itself. And so he was the push I needed to get out there and share my voice, which was really empowering.
It was really easy to do it. She has such a talent for harmony in a way that most people don't. I mean, I certainly don't have that talent. We'll be singing in the car, and I'll be struggling. I'm just taking these blind stabs at trying to find a harmony, just for kind of, sports sake, whatever. And then Anna will just come in effortlessly and do it, and I'm just blown away by how she can hear these things. And so it was very fortuitous to find somebody who could bring so much that almost nobody else could bring to the table. And it just complemented everything that had already been written so far so well that after a little while, we did open mics for a while, and she got over the stage fright. And then just as we were about to start really performing, we had the hurricane happen in September of 23, or maybe it was 24 actually.
Yeah.
So we were doing open mics and sort of and teasing the idea in early 2024 about maybe doing it. Not sure. We still had jobs, and we're still figuring out how to make all that stuff work. So it was kind of a casual thing. And then the hurricane hit, and we had a chance to relocate here, and we saw there was a ton of music, and we had been singing together for long enough where we had a repertoire put together.
Yeah.
And so we figured we would just kind of hit it earnestly and really try to get ourselves out there as artists in the area, and really happy that it all worked out the way it did.
It definitely did work out. It was definitely a shakeup, because I was working as a behavioral therapist, working with kids with autism for about 3.5 years, and it worked out to be the perfect timing, because I was graduating my kids, my clients, and then it was just this big fat opportunity in front of us to, well, do we jump into the complete unknown here and give this a shot? And we just kind of went for it. Luckily, both of us are on the same page with spontaneity and being kind of free birds in that way.
Embracing the chaos and just being a little freaked out all the time.
That's the only way it can work, truly.
Yeah.
You have to be open to anything that can happen.
And it's really lucky that all the circumstances kind of worked out the way they did. I think, like I had mentioned, both of us were kind of resistant in our own ways to allowing this to happen. And once we kind of got out of our own way about that, the music part of it came together, and then it was just the logistics of everything else. And that seems like it's been a lot of work when I imagine it in my memory, but when I really look back, it was almost seamless the way that it all kind of worked out. So very lucky for that.
Yeah.
Very, very lucky.
Yeah. So we touched on it briefly already, but describe a little bit more your guys' background in music and the arts.
Sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
For me, I grew up singing and harmonizing with my mom and my sister and my grandfather. He was a music teacher and a chorus teacher for like 40 years and an opera singer. And so I grew up during the holidays when I'd stay with him in Florida with having singing lessons, watching musicals, and having it be a really big presence in my life, just music in general and singing. So almost my entire life I've been immersed in music in some sort of way. My grandmother was a band director, and just my sister and my mom would harmonize with me, and so it was a lot of singing on road trips and the shower and the bedroom, creating voice memos and creating my own songs, and having a dream as a little girl to be a singer, but never thinking that would ever be possible. Like genuinely just thought that was going to be just a distant dream that would never come true, and then it just did all of a sudden. So it's been really cool. But I was in chorus for probably 13 years. And I've played piano. I play little instruments here and there without real any knowledge of music theory. I've studied here and there over the last like year, but mostly everything's done by ear. And I think that's really what I have to say about
Sure.
music and its influence in my life up to
doing,
this point.
Doing music with you, it's clear. It's for you. It's a super intuitive kind of process. You know, it's really not something that that you need to break down so much as to understand, but really just kind of. I mean, I as an example, I got an accordion just to play around with, cheap accordion.
I love that
and
thing.
she picks it up, and she's not playing, you know, Amelie or anything like that on it, but she's playing things on it, and it's really fascinating to watch, you know, to make the instruments come to life with little to no knowledge of how they work or how music works or anything like that. I have almost the completely opposite relationship with music. I wasn't a musician or an artist at all until I think I was 20 when I started playing guitar. So I'm 30 now, so just 10 years ago. I was an athlete my whole life, and then I just had a string of injuries, and sports were becoming limited and more limited, and other physical things for a while. You know, all the stuff that I like to do, the hiking and all that stuff, it just became really limited for a while I was recovering from, you know, knee and elbow problems and that sort of thing. So when I was in school, I did a year of college out of high school, and I spent a lot of time with this group of kids that were kind of artists and, you know, otherwise troublemakers, pot smokers, all that stuff. And they were called the Stone Mob. Quite literally. They all, before I knew them, they all broke into one of the unoccupied dorm buildings and had a little party in there, and they got caught, of course. And they got busted. But in the school newspaper, it said Stone Mob busted at whatever place, you know, whatever building it was. And so forever they were dubbed the Stone Mob. So I was formally invited into the Stone Mob, I guess. And like I said, my background was all in athletics, and almost immediately all that stuff was just over. Hard stop on all that. So I was in a position when I was 19 of really kind of trying to figure out, you know, well, who even am I anymore? I mean, if I'm not doing sports, like what's my thing? And one of the guys in the group played guitar, and he played not super technically well, but he had a lot of himself in his playing, would be the only way I can describe it. And so I watched him, you know, for months do this thing, and gradually I started thinking, well, you know, as I got to know him and humanized him more, I got to think, well, geez, if this guy can play guitar and have such a good, you know, be so effective with it, I can learn to do that. You know, I can at least a little bit. If I could do a tenth of what he's doing, I would be satisfied. And of course I wasn't by the time I could, and I had to keep going and going. And so after a little while, I was playing guitar and really pouring myself into it, and desperately wanting to create and write songs, but not really being, in some ways or another, secure enough within myself to do that sort of thing. And so gradually I moved away from that and into other interests over my life and other jobs, and guitar was just kind of something that I did, you know, in my spare time, or, you know, maybe to impress somebody or something like that here and there. And then when I was 27, I was driving to work one day, and I had just kind of started getting into Bob Dylan and into Woody Guthrie and the old folkies that, you know, kind of have come to be the sort of trailblazers for what we do. And I had never really listened to that music before, and I was listening to it all and being really impressed by it. And I was in the perfect situation. You know, I had been working for years. I'm just in the sort of, is this what my life is going to be? Is this what I'm going to do type thing? All manual labor type stuff. And I heard this song called Roll on Columbia by Woody Guthrie. Very simple. It's like a 3-chord song. Beautiful, beautiful writing. And not particularly polished, but really meaningful singing. And I heard it on my way to work, and I was just so moved by how accessible it was. I thought, well, this is something that anybody could do. You know, it was really that approachable. And so I just started trying to write songs in that vein, and I gained some confidence, and after a couple of songs I started to kind of branch away from that and into my own space. And
this guy is naturally a gifted writer, which I don't know if you really knew that.
I didn't have any idea of that stuff. I hadn't done any of that.
I mean,
so
but
it
with
all
your
happened.
creative writing growing up, you had teachers point out,
oh, well, they
you
were
got
just
something really special here.
trying to motivate me
And you
away
just
from
kinda
being a
blew it off.
troublemaker and to being a better student or something. But after a little while, you know, we just kind of, I guess I accepted that I could do this and I could write music. And then all these songs just start within a year. I had like 70 songs. It was just so much all at once. And now, I mean, we're up over 100 tunes, and we just we have a really big bank of stuff to play from. And I think now that we're at the point where we're trying to figure out, okay, well, we've got a really good grip on this. So how do we find the balance around all of this stuff?
Yeah, trying to find a sustainable way to live, do music, and pursue other interests that sort of feed the soul.
Yeah.
Because we can't just pour everything into, neither of us, I think, are capable of pouring everything into just one avenue.
Oh, yeah.
No. We need a couple different branches.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna.
Yeah, but it was really interesting the way that it worked out, because you had been doing music in one way or another your whole life, and then sort of stopped the couple of years before I met you. And I was just the opposite. I had just started basically the couple of years before we met.
Yeah.
And we met at that intersection there between sort of pursuing music or leaving it behind as a sort of background hobby.
Yeah.
And, like I said, her intuition and her familiarity with music gives us a lot of direction in times when I don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
And then, the sort of inspiration and my approach to learning music more methodically and understanding how some of the theory works helps when she's in a logjam and she can't really figure out, where to go with the tune. So it's kind of been really cool to have that contrasting musical education or lack thereof sometimes.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, and that can definitely play to your benefit, like you're saying. Like, coming at it from two totally different perspectives, you work with each other where maybe like one person lacks, another person has these like innate skills and stuff. And that's definitely probably why the cohesion is so strong.
Yeah, it's very complimentary. And even things that I would dismiss as corny or not, for me, she can convince me that they're worthwhile. And then vice versa, stuff that to her, is just not really developed or doesn't feel maybe intuitively right. I can see where, okay, well, this is the angle, we can take this, and this is really going to work.
So you guys are a success story, not only as a partnership in music, but a partnership period.
We make really good allies, really good good friends, and everything else sort of is piggybacked on that.
Right.
I think we're a good team.
Yeah.
A success story, though. That's
Remains
strong.
To be seen.
I think for a lot of people, the fact that you are even where you are now is like.
Yeah, we
really
were just talking about that the other day.
Yeah.
Where we were thinking about, even sometimes, as I'm sure you are as an artist too, you're faced with yourself and you think, well, I don't know if I even want to do any of this now.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to do any of this anymore.
What are we doing with our lives?
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's something that definitely gives us some perspective, is thinking, well, we have come this far, so we're not doing nothing.
Exactly.
We're doing something.
Yeah. And having that support with each other, I mean, that's invaluable.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we definitely have to keep perspective for each other sometimes, because I know Michael can sometimes feel like he's not doing enough.
Oh, all the
He's
time.
got to do more,
Yeah.
got to do so much more, and I'm like, oh, look.
Yep.
Whoa.
Oh, I
we
get
have
that.
done a lot, okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this kind of ties into my next question, which is, how would you say your experience has been, kind of in a nutshell, as being full-time musicians?
Yeah.
Oh, multifaceted, don't you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a really big question.
Yeah.
Because in some ways it's been a lot. How can I say? In some ways it's been underwhelming, and that you think that things are gonna feel really fast paced, and from the outside they kind of look that way. And if you're following pick an artist out of a hat and follow their visible life as it's visible to the public, it seems like they're just out there kicking ass all the time, and it's just they're one thing after another, one commitment after another. Now they're flying here, now they're going there, and they're doing this, blah blah blah, and that part of it actually is a lot scaled back when you're living it, and when you're in that, and that's not exactly our experience, but in a lot of ways, the sort of artistic engagements that we get into, they're really a lot more approachable than you would think from the outside when you're starting.
Yeah.
Even sitting in an interview like this, you always think of it being a lot more intense, like the 60 minutes interview, the close up right on your face, and that sort of thing. It's just crazy, and you got to answer this question, you got to get it right, and all that stuff. But then you actually get into it and you realize, oh, well, you're just being a person still. I mean, just because you're wearing an artist hat doesn't mean that you have to ascend to some different way of being. But then on the other hand, it's so much more chaotic than you think too, because most of the job is writing emails, most of the job is traveling, most of the job is being tired and
calling
still doing
people, connecting with people, having to really rule your life around a schedule.
Yeah.
So the stuff you thought would be really demanding of you, like the performances and the interviews and that stuff, that's actually the respite from the real job,
Right.
That's the fun stuff.
which is just pining and trying to get yourself out there and sending this submission. And even the people who from our perspective have sort of made it and they're at another level that we're still trying to get to, even for them it's the same thing. They're still writing emails all the time, they're still trying to get shows. Sometimes they go from playing a theater where 200 people have paid to see them play, and it's quiet, and there's almost a reverence about it, and that's when you feel like, wow,
we've done it.
What more could I be doing with my life? Like, this is perfect. And then the very next day, you have a bar gig at 3 p.m.
and no one's listening,
and nobody cares, and people are yelling over you. You know what I mean? So it's even the people who have kind of really been working it for a while, they get into that space. So I guess the experience, to answer your question, is it's a real mixed bag. There's parts of it that are really rewarding and really fun and entertaining and interesting, and just not knowing. We have gigs that we've never played before coming up in rooms we've never played before, and you never know what you're going to walk into.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have ones that we didn't really look forward to, and then they end up being awesome. And then other ones that we have high hopes for, and we show up and it's like, oh, you're actually playing in this cardboard box today, so this is going to be and it's raining, by the way, so please have fun. So it's one of those things where it's just, you never really know.
The whole experience, it's been inspiring, it's been disheartening, we've been extremely lucky. We've met awesome people that have kind of catapulted us in certain avenues that we were hoping to reach anyway. It's just been such a mixed bag. It's been such a mixed bag. A lot of humbling experiences, which are important. And when I say humbling experiences, that normally comes with a little poke in the ass, or
Totally.
Sure. Well, and it's so alinear too, is the thing. Like, you imagine in most professions, there's a pathway to success and a pathway to growth. But with something like this, like I said, you could have your the biggest show of your life followed up by one of the worst shows, most underattended shows, most underwhelming shows. You end up getting access to, like, we've been able to open for some famous acts and for some real, stars. But then we also only have, this many followers on a social media or something. So that doesn't add up. Like, how does that work? So you never really know where you stand in terms of what you actually have access to and what you don't, because it just, doors swing open and then they slam shut so fast, and it just, you never know, what's going to be available to you at a given time. So it's a little weird.
And it's also a little weird too, because I think one of the things that really inspired Michael about pursuing music was kind of following his musical heroes, for lack of better words, that were really up and coming in the 60s. It is a completely different world now. We're basing everything off of social media, and in order to get a gig, most of the time, you could suck, but if you've got thousands of followers, then they're going to get the gig. But if you've got a lot of talent and you only have, a couple hundred followers, they're like, oh, I don't know, we want you. Are you going to bring a crowd? It's like,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a weird system
you
nowadays.
get into these weird things too, like the most unusual. I think, to me, the most interesting thing about doing this sort of thing is just the self-management part of it. And especially when it comes to doing business deals, which I don't think of myself as a businessman at all. But you have to put the businessman hat on for a minute, and you got to negotiate a contract with somebody, and it gets a little weird. Sometimes you hear things you'd never expect you'd hear. Like for example, we have a show coming up in New York City, and I guess this is pretty common for New York City. I didn't know this, but a lot of the venues they take a huge upfront fee, even from the artist. So, I mean, we're not in this position, but there are a lot of artists that pay a venue to play a show there.
Wow.
And when you hear something like that, you think that can't even be possible. Like, how does that?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense. But unfortunately, that is the reality. Is that you have to deal with those kinds of business deals, and then you have the other ones where, we had a library show not too long ago. They just wanted us to play for like a half hour, and like, here's a whole lot of money. Take it.
Wow.
Oh, one of the best playing shows was at the library.
Just because it's in the budget. So it's weird stuff like that you can't account for,
Right.
and you just think, well, am I even? Do I understand anything about money and finance and anything at all about business? Because in the art world, it's just crazy, and in a world where a painting can sell for $1 million, and then another work of art is virtually worthless. How can you expect to make sense of that sort of thing?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that it's kind of it's not surprising about New York City though. I mean,
sure.
It's so competitive down there.
Yeah.
And it's also there's a lot of bureaucracy.
Totally.
That's just like kind of the nature of it. And this is coming from someone who is like a real outsider to like the music scene especially, but like I know I have a lot of like friends who are in that scene in the city and have heard about it secondhand. But that's a great thing about the Hudson Valley is that people are way nicer and more giving.
Sure.
And
there is a real appreciation for art in the Hudson Valley, we've found too. So we've been received really well. Yeah. And even with that, it's got its challenging moments for sure.
It's the Wild West and the Wild East. Anywhere you go.
Totally.
Yeah, the Wild Midwest too.
So that kind of brings me again to my next question.
Love a good segue.
Which is, how would you compare performing and the music scene in general in the Hudson Valley to other places that you have performed in the past?
Well, for us, the Hudson Valley is home base in a lot of ways because we
maybe not like compared to, but I guess maybe more generally what your experience has been. Yeah.
I think you can probably speak more to that.
Yeah, well,
simply because you performed in Asheville and in Charleston, right? Or no, Savannah and Georgia.
Oh yeah, the Southeast and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. Well, where to start? I mean, the Hudson Valley, the thing on the map, it looks really spread out where all the places are. Mm-hmm. In terms of like Ellenville is a little good music spot. Kingston's a good little music spot. Apparently, I'm learning. We go down into Jersey a bunch, which I know isn't the Hudson Valley, but it's in that same corridor. We're out in Beacon a bunch. That's been a big spot for us. So on the map, it kind of looks like it's all spread out, but we see the same people. We started doing open mics. That's how we kind of cut our teeth. We would go as many times as we could to an open mic, maybe 5 times a week sometimes. And if we were in Ellenville or we were in Beacon or we were in Warwick, we would see generally the same people, which is great because you're seeing what's really going on, but at the same time you're also getting a sense of what people are doing and what they're listening for. So as an example, we went and played an open mic in Peekskill one time, and there was a person there who was doing like shred metal guitar, and that did not go over well with the audience because everybody else there was a folk singer basically.
Right.
And he was an amazing guitarist. I mean, almost a virtuoso, but it just wasn't the audience for it.
Right.
So at least for what we do, we found that the Hudson Valley has been a really, really great sounding board, not only for us doing our own thing and finding an audience that wants to hear us, but also being in a community of people who are doing a similar thing that we're doing and trying to make acoustic music and trying to simplify things to let what matters about it come forward, being the writing and the sort of the compositional element of it.
I think too in the Hudson Valley it seemed to me as though there was a much more appreciation for the arts in the Hudson Valley compared to New York City, for example.
Yeah,
And
that was my experience too.
I was really surprised by that.
Yeah.
Because, I think it's pretty common for people to have stars in their eyes about New York City and all the possibilities and the arts and everything that got started there.
Yeah.
And that has branched out. So it was really strange because we spent a month in New York City to try the New York City scene and check out all the open mics over there. And there was a lot of punk music and more spoken word and rap. So we were kind of, I think we were kind of the outliers.
Yeah, which was helpful in some ways, but in the other way, I think we found ourselves saying, man, we really missed the Valley a lot when we were in the city.
Yeah, it's interesting to me because that's also been my experience. Yeah. When you guys said you were going to the city, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, because you never really know what you're going to find there. And I'm not like privy to all of the spots and whatever, like.
Sure.
But I just think as a location, it seems like your sound and your style really fits with this area.
Yeah.
Because it's, when you think about it, like the psychology behind location and stuff, people come here to not be like in all of the
craziness,
hustle and bustle.
Yeah.
So it's like and your music really reflects that, in a lot of ways. It's like, I don't want to say like mellow, but it has like, there's like a driving force behind all of it, but there is like it makes me feel like calm,
That's nice.
Yeah, it doesn't make me feel like I'm gonna like my heart's beating out of my chest.
Yeah, we're not throwing music at you.
No. Yeah. Which brings me to my next question. I'm on a roll tonight. I don't really know what to say. So how would you guys describe your music to someone completely unaware of who you are or what Route 1 is?
The best thing they've never heard.
The best thing they've never heard.
No, I'm kidding. I'm just being, how would we describe it? Well, I mean, the easiest thing to say would be singer-songwriter. That's kind of the general cop-out term that everybody uses. But, I mean, we have stuff that is... That's one of the things I think that I personally really like about what we have to offer is it's not... There is a cohesive element to it all being acoustic music, and generally when I describe it offhand, I call it acoustic music. And to some people that might mean, chicken picking on a banjo or something, and to other people it might mean something totally different. But to us, that just means that we take all the music that we like, whether it's sometimes even the Eastern music or Latin music. We do some bossa stuff. We take rock music, we take blues, we take folk, we take a little bit of jazz and all that stuff, and we just try to make that fit one guitar or one piano and two voices.
I see.
And so we, in a way, we kind of exist between genres. Like if you were to draw a triangle between folk, rock, and blues, we are just constantly bumping around in those things, and every once in a while snagging some other little element.
That's kind of fair.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever approved of the way I've said this, but when people have asked me in a silly, joking way, I've come up with, well, take Bob Dylan and Simon and Garfunkel, and they had a baby, and then somehow there we are.
I can't imagine what that baby would look
Ugly
like.
baby.
Oh my God.
But because there's a real focus on lyrics.
Yeah.
I call him the word wizard. And also there's another real focus on harmonies, because that's just really juicy and yummy for both of us, and we really like harmonies.
Yeah.
And
I mean, I was years ago, well before I even got into writing and performing music. This was still in my early 20s, and I was actually working at Dunkin' Donuts, and the manager at my store was one of my closest friends, and I was playing guitar really heavily at that point, but not performing or doing anything serious with it. And he came in one day and he said, I just heard this really interesting interview from this guy, Joe Henry, who's a award-winning songwriter that most people have not heard of.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the process of songwriting and about how for him, most of the process is just getting it. He said, I just got to get the hell out of the way. Just when you get this kernel of an idea, don't try to make it represent you. Just be a conduit for it,
Yeah.
and don't. And that's been my approach, at least in writing songs, and our approach in arranging them, is just trying to do what works for the idea or the song that's at hand, and we're not worrying about whether or not it's our style or whether it fits our show or anything like that. I mean, we make everything else work to the songs.
Yeah.
So when it all boils down to it, ideally we would be able to step away from it and somebody else would be able to perform our songs, and they might sound completely different.
Yeah.
And that's a really cool element of, I think, our music, is that it's accessible to people who are beginners. Most of our songs are pretty simple in their construction. I mean, you could just learn how to play them on the guitar and sing them with your friends within months.
Yeah.
But then also, if you want to, there's so much room and space in the songs that you
To
can
make it more dynamic.
You can absolutely make them more complex and make them serve, a person who might get bored playing guitar at the level that I play at. If they can play well beyond my level, well, then these songs can adapt to that.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool thing too. They're not locked into place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cool. Next question. This one's fun. I thought I would throw this in there just for, people interested in, we talked about what life has been like as a full-time musician, but I'm curious if you could each touch on one really memorable moment that you've had
Since doing this?
Since doing this. Yeah.
I have two really memorable.
She cannot follow the rules.
I
She can't do it. If you said two,
It's
she'd
okay.
have four.
That's okay.
So I just have to pick one.
No, I'll give you two. I'm curious now.
Well, I'm thinking,
also curious. So.
Okay, so for me, I'm thinking about these two specific. They just came up at the same time. I can't. It's just how it is. The first time we got to play on the big stage at the Town Crier in Beacon.
Yeah.
When we opened up for Grace and Hugh.
Yeah.
That was it felt like a pivotal moment for us because it was the biggest stage we had been on.
Yeah.
And I just remember after we got off stage and after we performed, we knew that we just gave a really great performance. It felt so good. It was nerve-wracking. It was a total edge to
we were sick.
to push. Oh, we were so
sick, but we did it anyway.
We did it anyway, and it still sounded good somehow.
Yeah.
But we got back into the green room as Grace and Hugh and his wife were going on stage, and we just held arms or hugged or something, and we're just jumping and spinning around in the green room, just so excited that we had just done that. Yeah. That was a really cool moment. We were just ecstatic little kids, basically. And the other moment was at the Howland that first time.
Yeah, I mean, as far as grandeur is concerned, when we first moved here in Beacon, there's a arts venue called the Howland Cultural Center. It's a beautiful building. I mean, it's stunning. It was one of the first ones that I saw, and it was one of the first open mics that we went to. And so I remember we parked in Beacon. This was way back in March of last year, almost a year ago now. We parked, and I knew that the Howland was right around the corner, and so I stopped Anna, and I said, Anna, what you're about to see are the kind of places that we should aspire to play, theaters and places like this.
Yeah.
And then, of course, I moved the roadblock, and she turns the corner, and she goes, oh, my God, it's so beautiful, all this
And
stuff.
he's a huge architecture nerd.
Yeah, so I
and
was
he's
really-
opened my eyes up to architecture.
Really digging the building.
Wow.
So that happened in March, and then we went to the open mic a couple times, successively, and then maybe it was in the summer, we get a phone call and it says, hey, this is the Howland Cultural Center. We're wondering if you guys would be interested in giving a show here, which of course
That was our goal.
we had
That was
set
our ultimate goal for the year.
that was the impossible goal. That was like, we're going to have goals that we can pretty much definitely meet if we just keep doing this, and then goals that we probably won't meet, but they're there.
Yeah.
And the Howland was at the top of that list for this
Wow.
past year. And so we get that phone call, and it was only a few months later, and they asked us to come play, and it was a whole committee of people I had to talk to, and we had to put the schmooze on and do the whole, sell ourselves basically. And come November, we're standing in front of an audience, which we weren't sure, that's always the stressor as an artist, a smaller time artist, is the room going to be full?
Right.
Are there going to be a bunch of empty seats? Is the venue even
Oh,
going
I
to
feel
make
that every
money?
time I do this too.
Right? Yeah. It's like,
Yeah.
is the venue going to make any money? Are
Yeah.
we going to make any money? You know, is it going to be one of those things? And we've played to nobody. We've
Yeah.
played to full rooms. So I mean, that's how it goes. But we showed up at the Howland, and we're upstairs waiting in the green room.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't hear anything that's going on. And so we hear that, okay, the little light comes on, it's time for us to go down, and we're standing in the back, and we can hear the MC saying, okay, well, you know, this is Route 1, welcome everybody, and he introduced us, and we turned the corner, and the room was full.
Wow.
Yeah, and
Wow.
it was a
And
bunch
they
of
had all just come for us.
yeah, and there's a
Wow.
bunch of people that there were a lot of people that were there that we knew to support us, but then there were also a whole bunch of people, more than half of the room, that we had never seen before.
Wow.
And that, to me, you know, being able to play in that room, and it was perfectly quiet. The acoustics are amazing. The lighting was beautiful. We were dressed up real nice. We were feeling really good.
Well, admittedly, we had a pretty bad day, I think, prior to the show.
It's always a crazy day.
It was
Yeah.
to be candid, to be so raw, it was a pretty bad day. But then turning that corner
Yeah.
and seeing that there was so many people
Yeah.
hungry for whatever music and art we were about to provide, and just the support was so cool.
Yeah, it was great.
It
And we
was
did an
so-
all original show, which I think was our first all original. We just did,
Yeah, we
you
didn't
know,
do any covers.
An hour and a half of our own stuff.
Wow.
And and it was met just with a wonderful
Wow.
reception, and it was really surreal to be in that room after
Yeah.
so few months and after so little time being
Yeah.
here, and think, wow, you know, we actually have made our mark on this community here that we appreciate so much. I mean, Beacon is one of our favorite places to be.
Yeah.
So we really, really enjoyed that. And to me, that was probably when I think of it all in terms of a mountain range, you know, and I can see this peak here and this peak here, and it kind of
Mhm.
works out as a timeline like that. The Howland was definitely one of the higher peaks. I mean,
Mhm.
it's just really cool
Yeah.
evening.
Yeah. So I love that you're talking about these goals that you guys set, because
Yeah.
that was my last question, which
Oh.
is, what are your goals for 2026? And I guess if you are thinking beyond too,
Yeah.
love to know.
That's a good question. I think we're also still trying to figure that out.
It is
Yeah, for
still like
sure.
very, you know, the year just started.
Yeah,
But-
absolutely.
Well, we hit music so hard when we got into it. I mean, there were so many little things that kept us from doing it, because, like I said, we met in 2023. We started singing together in 2024, and you know, by the time we took a little trip to Maine to visit some of my people up there in September, and basically when we had it in mind that when we come back from this trip to Maine, we're gonna play as much music as we can and really try to invest in this. And then the day we got back, the hurricane started.
Wow.
The actual
Like,
day
literally
we got back.
that
Wow.
day.
We were on a hike.
Yeah, we were on top of a mountain. It started raining, and we thought, and over there it rains, you know, for 15 minutes, and then
Right.
it passes. And we thought,
But
oh,
it
this is
wouldn't
no big deal.
stop.
And then it got worse and worse, and it didn't stop
Wow.
for 3 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and so
We were just drenched. I mean, each of us probably had 20 pounds of water in our clothes by
cold.
the
It
time
was
we
very
got down
cold.
the mountain.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then, you know, we're driving through basically rivers on the highway.
But all this is to say is that that happened. That was a major life event for us.
Yeah.
And we had to go basically right back up to Maine because
Yeah.
we didn't have power or water, or there's not food around, and all
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah, for 2.5 months, there was no running water or power in our home. So we had to evacuate.
Well,
for a
so there was
while.
that, and then, you know, that was another 2 months that was dedicated to that and trying to figure out what we were going to do, if we even had jobs or a city to go back to.
Yeah.
And then moving to New York, that took us another 2 months. So now that's September all the way to February, and we still haven't been able to even start doing this thing that we loaded the gun and we cocked it, and we just haven't been able to pull the trigger all
Yeah.
of this time. And so when finally we moved in, and when March came around, that was when we did the Howland open mic for the first time, and we did as many open mics as we could. You know, we were really, really gung-ho and almost just myopic about what our goals were, and that we
Yeah.
will make this a job. We will get enough work to support ourselves. And we've done that, but I think in the process of doing that, we've discovered that, we want our lives to be about a hell of a lot more than just performing music.
Yeah.
So I think 2026 for us has a lot more to do with
Finding balance.
finding music's place.
Right, like you guys were saying in the beginning.
We want definitely. I mean, we want to continue to perform, and we want to grow, and we've done enough work where now Route One has legs of its own, and it is a thing now. It's an entity, and we can use that and market that without having to put as much muscle into it as we did last year. So I think now we're taking a step back and saying, well, what about in our personal lives do we want more of? And spending more time with family. Other kinds of work that's gratifying for us and that sort of thing, and finding how music fits in all of that.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's still goals to be involved in more music festivals.
Sure. Yeah.
There are goals to get shows in more theaters and venues that are really catered to a listening room experience.
Yeah.
Maybe taking less of the loud bar gigs. Because I think our music is really meant to be in a listening room experience. We try to invite in the audience rather than throw sound at them and words at them. Like we're really, our approach is more so inviting people into the show and gaining their own experience and their own perception of what the songs might mean. And we want our music to be on the radio if possible. We finally got our recordings. They're out on Spotify and other streaming services. So we want to do some more recordings because we've got so much music.
Yeah, I mean, that was a huge hurdle for us. It took us, I mean, we were able to make some recordings in Asheville, and unfortunately those were destroyed in the floods. All the hard drives that they were on got ruined and all that. So that was a huge setback for us, and it was... Ideally, we were going to have recordings before we started to go public.
Right.
And it actually ended up being the opposite. We ended up going public for basically a year before we had the recordings, which was a huge thorn in our side when after every performance somebody says, well, where can I find your music? And it's like, right here, that's it, just with us. So we finally bridged that gap and have just 8 of, like I said, the 100+ songs that we have. And those are just demo quick recordings. We got the whole thing done in just a couple of days. So, and we really want to spend more time crafting individual songs. We've already got the framework too. We've already got them. We just want to dress them up, and we can both play other instruments. We want to play other instruments on them, and see what we can do on the recording scene. And then, like she said, playing maybe fewer shows, but more exciting, more engaging, more dynamic and meaningful shows, festivals and theaters and that sort of thing. And then seeing what else comes along in the meantime, Yeah,
we definitely want to expand, and I mean, if we can make it big, that'd be sweet. But
making it small would be cool too.
Yeah.
And that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, because you guys have really built it up for all of us, I think I'm gonna give the whole stage to you now to perform one of your songs.
Yeah.
Sure.
We haven't really spoken about one specifically, but I think I think you guys...
We can figure it out.
We'll
know what
trust
to do.
our judgment.
I trust you'll pick the perfect song for us.
Well, do you have one in mind?
I guess for introduction's sake, it seems like it would be smart to do Say Hello.
Do that one?
Do you have any in mind that you're itching to play?
Change My Mind.
Change My Mind?
That one's been on my...
It's been on your mind. Okay, all right. Let's do that one then.
All right. Well, this is a song that we usually introduce at shows by saying, I'm sure that everybody has encountered the phenomenon when you see someone in the grocery store that you just don't want to talk to right now. You like them even. It's worse when you like them. And they like you and they really want to talk to you.
And then you duck behind the beans aisle, and then they end up finding you in the bread aisle.
Yeah, you meet them anywhere in the checkout or anything like that. So anyway, this isn't exactly about that, but we like to say this is a sort
It's not about that at all.
high stakes version of that. I was trying to think what rhymed with cashier and supermarket.
How can we make this more confusing?
Anyway. All right. We call this one Change My Mind.
I was outside walking through the streets on a crowded Monday morning. I was in a new city, I was looking for somewhere to go. Now I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of in a desperate situation. Then I saw you standing there and my blood went cold. Through your deep blue eyes you mailed me a sunny salutation. With a heart disfigured I tried to say hello. Now I thought this train had already reached its destination, but it seems you and me got a few miles left to go. 'Cause ever since that day you looked me in the eye, I hear them calling me like echoes in my mind. 'Cause I remember the way we said we'd always be, the things we said we'd always mean. And we tried, and we tried, and we tried, but I couldn't change my mind. Now you used to breathe fire, then you pack it up and send it with a postcard. No matter where they're coming from, you were still here with me. Never thought back then that everything would come to be so hard. Never thought back then you would be so hard to see. 'Cause ever since that day you looked me in the eye, keep on calling me like echoes in my mind. 'Cause I remember the way we said we'd always be, the things we said we'd always mean. And we tried, and we tried, and we tried, but I couldn't change my mind. Now I know I'm guilty if we talk about the trial and tribulations. And I know deep down we were both too young to know. It was all or nothing, no kind of room for no abbreviation. It was all or nothing, just the way that the river flows. 'Cause ever since that day you looked me in the eye, keep on calling me, these echoes in my mind. 'Cause I remember the way we said we'd always be, the things we said we'd always mean. And we tried, and we tried, and we tried, but I couldn't change my mind.
Thank you.
Audience of two. Wow, thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this really inspired me to bring more musicians on the podcast.
Nice,
Because
yes.
I love having it end with a nice little tune.
Little tune.
Yeah, it's so lovely.
Thank
you guys
you.
are amazing.
Thank you.
And I am so excited for next Saturday.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Yeah, so if you don't know already, Route 1 will be back at Greenkill next Saturday, which is Valentine's Day, coincidentally.
Saved us from having to figure out what to do.
To perform their music, and you'll get to hear more of that, and maybe they'll throw something else in there too. Who knows? You got to come and check it out.
Who knows what's going to happen?
Who knows? Once they get on stage,
Yeah.
you can never
Yeah.
we never quite know. But thank you guys so much for coming.
Thank
It's
you
been
for
such a
having us.
pleasure. Yeah, White Noise signing off. Yay.
Cool.